Well, Paul, that was fun as you leave me. That's fine. That was fun, wasn't it?
Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Hey,
Let me get this lit up real quick.
Mario, a Bills victory.
On a Monday night.
On a Monday night. Yeah.
In this economy? Bills home victory, ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation and Bills Mafia. Welcome in. It's just a beatdown. I mean, literally at halftime, both teams just want to be like, do you want to just call it? Do you want to just, I mean, it's over.
Turned in, nothing like a week 3 preseason game, right? Because at the end of it, we're seeing Mitch Trubisky and Mac Jones. I was like, what year is this? Right? Like these guys are both now traveled veterans, Mac Jones and Mitch Trubisky, and a carrier, Elam almost intercepted a ball. Hill forced a fumble, and like, what a wild game,
Yeah.
And at halftime, I joked with Joe during the halftime show. If you didn't catch it, Joe broadcasts every game here on Hashtag Sports. So I joined him for the halftime show. And within there, I laughed that the score was, if you were to put it to jersey numbers, it was Thurman Thomas against Adam Podlesh, who was a punter for the Jags in like 2007.
Only you would know that. Seriously.
I looked it up. There's a website you could look for anybody who's worn a specific jersey number for a team. So I'm not going to claim to. Listen, I got a lot of useless stuff in my head, Mario. Come on.
It's usually filled with Coke Zero too, as well.
Hey, rocking a little Coke Zero tonight. Listen, it's a late one. It's a business week day,
It's a late one. Oh my God. Yeah, it's one of those things. Obviously, guys, follow all of our socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook to get all the content that we're putting out. There's a crazy bunch of content that is coming out for Hashtag. Hopefully you guys are enjoying that as well. All of the picks, wait, we got a new sponsor, don't we, Paul?
Yeah, we sure do. So that is BetDSI, and BetDSI has been working with us here at Hashtag Sports, bringing everything. We try to bring you everything the latest on the Bills as we can. So now being a fan isn't just about watching the games; it's about living every moment. And if you're ready to take that passion to the next level, you can check out betdsi.eu. That's who we use on Razor Sharp Picks. You can catch Joe and Ryan do that every Wednesday at 10 p.m. BetDSI has been around for 25 years. They know how to treat real fans like us with the best odds, the fastest payouts, and a platform that's as solid as our defense, which has now only given up 16 points on average per game through the first 3 weeks. So whether you're betting on the Bills to dominate the AFC or making those crucial live bets during the game, get everything you need from BetDSI. Make your pick count. And that is betdsi.eu, our sponsor for the 2024 first half of the season. So listen, if you sign up for BetDSI with promo code HTAG, you'll get 120% match, up to $1,000 on your first deposit. So get in the game. Get over with betdsi.eu, promo code HTAG. Make sure you're backing the Bills the right way. So
absolutely, my friend.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, wonderfully done. Yes, absolutely. Not many negatives.
For the record, there's a teleprompter that we use for that. I'm not going to, there's no reason to hide it, right? And Joe slowed it down significantly from the last time he had it set. Because before it was moving. Like, I was like, this is not my profession. Reading this is not my profession. And he slowed it down significantly. Thank you, Joe, if you're watching this, for slowing the teleprompter down.
Yeah, look, like I said, like with everything that's going on new with Hashtag Sports, we want to make sure we're providing you guys with everything that you want. And, obviously the chat is booming already. Mm-hmm. We always try to take an objective approach here at Hashtag, and we always try to give you guys something. Okay, they did this well, but they can also do this well. I'm not really sure what else they could do well than what they did against the Jags. Now, let's be fair. Jags are not a very good team. They're not very cohesive. They didn't have a lot of things. But maybe that's what the Bills do, and maybe that's how they're going to make teams. That's how they're going to make teams look after a while. So it's absolutely Josh Allen's a unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
I love when they flashed that stat during the game for Trevor Lawrence. Since he's been in the league since 2021, he has the most turnovers.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
that's
like
right.
get off this Josh Allen train that he's a turnover machine.
Right. Yeah. It's, and Garn brings up a great point. He says we need more people active on offense so Josh can throw it to even more targets. 10 again this week. I will point out this is the first game where Josh, every player who was targeted caught a pass. I will repeat, yes, he did target 10 players. 10 players also had receptions. And that's the first time that's happened this year. So there'd be guys that had like one target, like Ray Davis had a target, no catches, or whomever it was. But this is the first week where everybody who was targeted walked away with at least one reception. And that's crazy because you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys walk away with one. Let's see here, one reception. 2 of them were only targeted once. So great day. Like Keon Coleman, 1 catch for 24 yards and a touchdown. He gets his first NFL touchdown. What a great day. Dalton, he got a touchdown. Ty Johnson got a touchdown. Like Joe Andreessen was out there making tackles. Like DeMar Hamlin got his first interception. Like a lot of firsts today. And this is one of those games where, hopefully Buffalo can look back and say, listen, this can't be our peak. This was an exciting game. Everybody got their hands in, right? Everybody eats. This is the definition of an everybody eats game. And I just want to point out, it was a lot of fun watching Vaughn play tonight, chasing down Trevor. Like, that felt good, right? That makes me look back at last year and say, man, if he were healthy, right? Like, oh, man. Like, he closed on him pretty quick.
He did. He didn't seem like he was losing
a
a step. He didn't seem like he was favoring his knee at all. And it was one of those things where he got after it and it was situational. Like at 35 years old, even though he's making a ton of money and everything else that's going on with him, it's one of those situations where he's still that guy when he comes off the edge. He's still going to be that guy.
I love this.
Jags look like the drought Bills from Aaron Clark.
Yeah, that's a great comment. So I want to point. I'm sorry. No, please, Mark. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say for a lot of you that are talking about the Josh Allen and people are going to be talking about, he's a turnover machine and this and that. And Josh Allen really only has 1 fumble, which he had in the opening week against the Cardinals. After that, he's not thrown a pick. I know people like to focus on the picks. CJ Stroud just last year went around 185 or 190 passes to start the season before he threw his first interception. So he's still got a long way to go. And you know what, though? During halftime, I was looking up a lot of statistics about Aaron Rodgers' MVP or Cam Newton's MVP year and certain things like that and seeing – because Rodgers is notorious for having a very high touchdown to interception ratio. I think he has the biggest in the NFL. So I was looking and like, when did he throw his first pick? Because there was like years where he went like 43-6. So I'm trying to look and see when his first pick came. And it wasn't until like the 5th, 6th game of the season. So although Allen is off to a fast start, the offense seems like it's off to a fast start. The defense is playing very, very complimentary football. It's one of those things where you have to try to figure out, we got to pump our brakes a little bit. I mean, they haven't played very great teams yet. The great teams seem to be coming up on the horizon. So,
and one thing that I did forget about, Javon Solomon walked away with his first sack tonight as well. The 168th overall pick. That was Tuhill was the one.
No, he knocked it out. Solomon knocked it out.
Oh, Solomon knocked it out? I thought Tuhill did. Oh, okay.
Tuhill recovered it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, look at that. So big, again, a lot of firsts, right? A lot of firsts for the Bills. And that's awesome to see, especially like, I feel great for like Andreessen, because we talked about him, we've talked about him in the past. And I think Ryan and I talked last game, post game. And I was like, listen, he's going to be at home. Is he going to be active? And the answer was yes, he's going to be active. Is he going to see the field? It would have to be a scary series of circumstances for him to see the field. For Jacksonville, it was a scary series of circumstances, and Joe Andreessen got to see the field. So good for him. Buffalo kid got to get out on the turf and make his first couple NFL tackles under the lights. A lot of firsts. Really a great game if you're a Bills fan to walk away from, because you're going to hear a lot about this game that comes out later right? Like those little tiny facts that you didn't quite know. Brandon Codrington even had a tackle. He had 2 tackles actually. You know, and
He did.
boys, and he's fun on the return game, man. Like every time he touches the ball, you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
Absolutely. And you know, it's interesting to see how far some of these rookies and some of these new players are coming along as far as their development within the system itself. And you start to see those guys start to progress, and they get to see some time and stuff like that. But I mean, we're going to talk about the offense. We're going to talk about we're talking about Josh Allen quite a bit, but the other thing that we want to talk about is the thing that's understated. And I think Rasul Douglas, Christian Benford, I don't think they get enough publicity as far as their play on the field in 3 games against 3 very stellar wide receiver cores. You know what I mean? And what they've been able to do and how they've been able to lock down guys, in that zone scheme that McDermott has. Babich is putting his touch on it. He's putting his little twist on it, which I find amazing. You're starting to see progress out of, like you said earlier, DeMar Hamlin, and Taylor Rapp was really all over the field tonight, and Dorian Williams leading the tacklers with 11 today.
Yeah.
I mean, what else? And the one thing that I wanted to say, and I forgot, and I was so mad at myself that I didn't remember it earlier. A couple of Bills individuals were wondering, and why weren't the Buffalo Bills going with Morrow over Spector in the middle? And it just hit me like right when the game started, because I remembered Spector went to Clemson. So did Lawrence. So I said, is there any crossover? He played with them all 3 years that Lawrence was he was there. So what better guy to have manning the middle of your defense than a guy who knows all the tells of this kid and can do it on the fly?
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant by McDermott, and it was a little sneaky sleight of hand thing.
Well, I think you also look a little bit down the road as well, right? Because, Spector is not exactly the coverage guy, right? But you're going against Baltimore next week. So you'd probably play Spector over Morrow there anyway.
Oh, yeah.
The Texans and the Jets are afterwards. But I think, you get Spector the snaps because you're going to need him in Baltimore, right?
Absolutely. On that run game,
yeah, I think that makes. Baltimore ran the ball a lot this week. A lot. I don't even know if Lamar attempted 20 passes. Like he ran the ball a ton.
He may have. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah. They just put the ball on the ground. That's it. That's what that team does. And again, their record was not indicative of the level of team that is. So Baltimore is a scary matchup. Like they do a lot if they're finding their identity early, which they kind of got away from it in the first couple of weeks, but they just went to Derrick Henry and said, just do Derrick Henry type things. Just go be Derrick Henry.
And it's not like the Buffalo Bills are new to seeing Derrick Henry. I mean, they play the Titans every year, it seems, and they always seem to have somewhat of an answer. You're not going to have a full answer for Derrick Henry, but they have somewhat of an answer for him. I mean, the guy he defies, aging. I don't know how he's still able to play with the amount of tread that's been taken off of his tires over the years. But the guy is just an absolute beast. So you're at the Ravens, at Houston, at New York, 3 road games, 3 AFC teams that were picked by a lot of the pundits to be, in the playoff picture. So this is a perfect time for Buffalo to be hitting their stride in a manner of speaking. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that happens. They've already dispatched of 1 wide receiver that used to play for them in Gabe Davis. Let's see.
Hey, weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, what an odd return for Gabe Davis, right?
It was
an odd return.
Because he didn't leave the Bills on bad terms. It was just the business of the NFL, and where they couldn't afford him and they didn't really want to delegate the money for Gabe Davis at that position. They wanted to delegate it to other positions. And I understand that. I mean, once you're paying your quarterback $238 million, $250 million, that's really what happens. So it's, so to me, I thought they were going to call the weekly third quarter timeout. They usually do that too.
I was still waiting for it, right? Like I'm looking at the score going, they're up forever. They're up so much. And then I think they call a timeout with like a minute left in the third quarter. I was like, what the hell are you doing? Who cares? Who cares?
All right, Aaron Clark comes in with a great question. Hey, if they could be all like this, hello, hashtag Go Bills. Absolutely, Mr. Sean. Sorry, Mr. Rogers Homes.
Well, that's right. Also a sponsor here at hashtag. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers Homes. MrRogersHomes.com, of course. If you're looking for Arizona real estate, check out the YouTube channel. They also have an app, believe it or not. Mr. Rogers Homes now has an app. You can search for that in your app store. So Mr. Rogers Homes on YouTube and MrRogersHomes.com.
Yeah, and if you are first time I did it on my platform of TikTok. If you guys that are watching right now that are in the live, if you can go give us a follow. It says right above my name at #sports is our account. If you like sports related memes and jokes and good stuff like that and breakdowns and whatnot, please go follow that. That's our backup account. We're trying to get it to 1,000, so we can go live over there as well. Yeah, it's like and Eric Clark comes in. He says, "Do you have the power and speed to shut down Henry and Lamar?" And we were just talking about that. It does seem to be a very, very dangerous proposition with the 1-2 punch that they have. My concern is going to be Cam Lewis in the slot, because you're going to put essentially Cam Lewis, I think, on Zay Flowers, and that is no bueno. I mean, I don't know what the snap count is for Zay Flowers playing on the outside and playing on the slot. But as far as the Buffalo Bills cover 2 goes and the zone scheme that they like to run, putting Cam Lewis on Zay Flowers is not a favorable matchup for the Buffalo Bills. I'm just going to say, even though they've been playing very, very well as of late.
Yeah. And, it's the Ravens also have a tendency to really lean on Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely is a really talented, athletic tight end for them. And last couple of weeks, he's been pretty quiet. And Zay Flowers is one of those players, like, I think he's just really emotional because when he's in the game, he's really dangerous. I think he lets his emotions take him out of the game sometimes if things aren't going so well, because he makes some really, really boneheaded decisions sometimes. So we'll just kind of see where that goes. And that's just the path of a young player, right? But he got tossed into the Ravens and was expected to be their number 1 wideout because the Ravens, that's what they do, is they keep throwing picks at wide receiver forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
Funny story, Paul. Yeah. Funny story that I came up with. Did you know that since Josh Allen has joined the Buffalo Bills and Lamar Jackson has joined the Baltimore Ravens, there have been two guys, Dalton Kincaid, as far as receiving threats and offensive weapons delegated to the quarterback position. Dalton Kincaid and Kelvin Benjamin, who's already on the team. Those are the only first-round picks that Josh Allen has had as weapons. We mentioned Diggs. He was a 5th rounder. He was an excellent player. He probably should have been in the first round, but he wasn't. All right, well, we're only talking about first-round picks. Yeah. Do you know how many players, both drafted and acquired, have been delegated to Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens?
Oh, my God.
I know this answer.
7.
There have been 7 free agent first-round acquisitions.
Just free agents?
Just free agents.
Oh, my God.
There have been 4 draft picks that have been delegated. So 11 former first-round either draft or free agent picks have been delegated to Lamar Jackson to try to do something. Now, obviously, you know what? People want to talk about numbers. People want to do this and that and the other thing, and I understand that. One was like Melvin Gordon. You can't really, as a football guy, you can't count that. Right. You can't count Melvin Gordon, but he was a former first rounder. So if you can't have one and not the other, my friend. So if you want to talk about if you're going to give Kelvin Benjamin to Josh Allen, you're giving Melvin Gordon to Lamar Jackson. So if that's what it is, then that's what you're going to do. So
that makes sense. That checks out. I do want to call back, though. There was something about the Jaguars that I think is a fascinating thing, because we talk about this quite a bit. What's the best way for me to phrase this? The Bills right now are spending on their entire wide receiver group about $45 million. The whole group, right?
Ooh, okay.
That's total contracts. Total. Over the life of the contract, they've got right now $45 million in total expenditure with wide receivers. Okay. So that includes the practice squad. I want to point that out. Includes 3 players on the practice squad. So of your rostered wide receivers, you're spending a little less than $45 million for the group of them. The Jaguars spent $111 million on just Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis. So I want to just call out that sometimes you need to spend money where you should spend money. And sometimes you sign Christian Kirk for $80 million for no reason. And then like Gabe Davis got a $39 million contract. Like that would be nearly what Buffalo could afford on their entire wide receiver group, let alone one, right? So when you look at the numbers like that, it's obvious, right? Why he's not there anymore. You know?
Yeah. And you literally look at because there's two parts to this, ladies and gentlemen. When we talk about the NFL, people need to realize that there's a business part of it as well. And I think a lot of people kind of forego that and say, oh, why didn't they get this player? Why didn't they get this player? Why didn't they get that player? Sometimes you just can't afford those guys. And you need to delegate your funds as far as the salary cap goes in other places. And I think they wanted to try to do something for their offensive line and defensive line first, because if you don't control that, it doesn't matter what kind of skill guys you got. As Jacksonville showed you today, it doesn't matter what they got Walker and Josh Hines Allen. That in and of itself should be two of the most dangerous defensive edge rushers in the NFL. Yeah. But they got nobody to make a push up the middle.
No, nothing.
So they can't do anything.
No.
They were literally non-factors tonight.
Yeah.
47 points dropped on you. Like literally they were non-factors.
And 34 by half. Like the Bills could have scored 70 if they wanted to tonight, right? Like this was one of those games where the Bills decided we're gonna destroy them. Like we're gonna beat the tires off that car. We're gonna beat the brakes off. And I think I saw somebody say that the Bills beat the brakes off the Jags. I love that. I love that expression.
Beat the brakes off. I love that.
Yeah, beat the brakes off them. If the Bills wanted to score 70 tonight, they would have, right? But they made the smart decision and they pulled their starters, right? Like there was a point where it just didn't matter anymore. Get the other players time, right? Get the other players NFL snaps, because they probably got more snaps in their system tonight than they do in practice. Like that's what happens. Like development in the NFL is not really a thing. A lot of times your second defense is not running, or not, those guys aren't taking snaps in your concepts, right? So like Kaiir Elam as an example, Kaiir Elam played tonight, right? He normally wouldn't. You would not see him in coverage, but tonight he got to play and he probably took more snaps. He's going to take all practice. Like it's hard for guys to develop. They have to develop in the film room. Tonight you were able to get your team a lot of snaps. Super big win, right? Super big win.
Absolutely.
Just can't say enough about the execution, because Buffalo really didn't struggle to run a single play tonight, and Jacksonville just was not going to be able to stop them. There was just no way. And unfortunately, like this was a Jacksonville team that, was on the cusp of being pretty good. Like Travis Etienne is a really fun player, but
he is.
I mean, he was out of the game, like completely removed from the game plan. Completely removed from the game plan. What did Etienne end up having? 11 carries for 68 yards. Great numbers, right? Yeah. That's over 6 yards a carry, right?
Yeah, but he had Spiller numbers though.
That's right.
He had CJ Spiller numbers. A lot of that was in the second half when they had already conceded to a lot of those things. And as far as everything that goes, I mean, people like to use this as buzzwords and say certain things here and there, but complementary football cannot be understated enough in what the Buffalo Bills are doing. I mean, we've seen now a game where they were down by 10 or down by more than 10, 14, I think. I think they were 2 touchdowns down against the Cardinals. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, chat. But then came back. And then they had 2 games that were just literal blowouts. But you look at the blowouts, and it almost gives you, and dare I say it, Bills Mafia, #Nation, I'm sorry, gives you Patriots vibes, because they were able to run at will on the Dolphins. Josh Allen, as much as a Superman as we love him to be, was not Superman against Miami. He was pedestrian, and that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? When he gets a night off, it's kind of nice. But the other thing is this: tonight they come out of the gate, and he just starts firing. He had like 28. I think he was 23 for 20, 23 for 30 at halftime.
No, that's what he finished with.
That's what he finished with? Oh, okay. But I think he was somewhere in the range where he had 5 incompletions and 4 passing touchdowns or something like that.
Yeah.
At half. Yeah. But it was a heavily pass. It was a very, very pass heavy deal that he was going in. And you know, with Allen, I think Louis Riddick said it great. He goes, you like having Superman, but you don't want to call on him every day just to get a cat out of a tree. I mean, the Dolphins were getting a cat out of a tree.
Sure.
You know, today he didn't have to be Superman, but if need be, he could be Superman.
That's funny. That's funny. I like that. There it is. Josh didn't have to be Superman tonight. That's right.
No, he didn't have to be Superman. And you know, for the big dubs for the 63 people watching on YouTube and the we got 5 people on TikTok. Thank you guys for coming in. Those of you that are new to TikTok, please make sure you go over and follow our TikTok page at #.sports. And those of you that are on YouTube as well, go give us a follow. We get to 1,000, we can go live over there. But like, man, dude, I'm trying, because through the thing, I always try to look at where the Bills can improve throughout the game. I'm looking at the different sets that they're running.
One, isn't it?
They're running trips bunch, they're running doubles, they're running a bunch of things. They're at 21, 12 personnel. They do a lot of different things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there, and Joe could probably even attest to this a little bit better. I'm trying to figure out ways that they can get better. But the motion in and of itself that Joe Brady has decided to incorporate here, that tips them off. Mm-hmm. That gives Allen the tips of what the coverage is, if it's man or it's zone, who's coming, who's not, setting protections, and everything, is absolutely phenomenal in what he's been able to do. And the coordinators either haven't figured it out, mm-hmm. or he's just a step ahead of them.
Right. In
that respect.
Well, you know, I think Joe brings up a great question here. It says, anyone else worried about, Josh's non-throwing hand on those handoffs? First off, Josh's hand he was wearing a big glove tonight. Josh typically doesn't wear a glove on his non-throwing hand. So that's, red flag number 1. Mm-hmm. It's a very big glove, right? It looks very padded.
It's a lineman glove. It looks like a lineman's glove.
Yeah, it was huge. But I want to bring in Ryan, because Ryan is joining us.
Yeah, Ryan was at the game. We're going to bring him in there real quick.
Yeah.
TikTok, if you guys want to enjoy the stream a little bit more, go head over to our YouTube as well. #sports. You can just type it in the thing. You'll see the live video come up. We're the only one. So go check it out. I'm gonna take off of TikTok, but we're gonna still be live on YouTube. So go check it out over there, and we'll see you guys over there.
All right, Ryan, let's bring you on, buddy. Hey, guy.
Oh, hey, guys. Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Look at this.
Whoa.
Fresh off the Bills, my friend.
Oh, my goodness. You gotta get some chaw going on your way home. Gotta loosen up that throat.
Yeah, I had to grab a water for the drive home.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So Josh's non-throwing hand, right? So the NFL, because here's the thing around the NFL, right? The Bills have gotten their hand slapped for not filling out the injury report like they're supposed to. So if you go to NFL.com, they do list the injury report every week, right? And update it daily. So it says here, Josh was on the injury report, but was marked a full participation in practice, no current injury designation. You cannot tell me that he didn't break a bone in his hand a couple of weeks ago. Like, I'm just not willing to hear any argument that says he didn't break a bone in his non-throwing hand when he landed on it with his own elbow. So I can't even. Anybody who says that he didn't break his hand, I don't think knows how hands work. But we see Josh handing off awkwardly, right? Like, is this a concern for you, right? Given what we've seen the last couple games at this point?
No.
You don't care?
No. Dynamite Brock.
Okay. Right. What over the last couple of games would lead you to be concerned about the way Josh Allen's playing?
Just specifically about his hand, right? Because let's just be clear, right? If Josh gets hurt, the paint job on this changes, right? Mitch Trubisky attempted a pass tonight, 1 for 1. He's contributed more offensively than Kyle Allen did. So congrats to Mitch Trubisky for attempting a pass this season. Did the Bills even let Kyle Allen throw a pass last year? I think he got in like 6 games. Did he attempt a single pass?
Yeah,
I'm sure he did.
I don't think he threw one pass. Yeah, I'm pretty confident he never did.
Yeah, I don't think he did either. But anytime there's an issue with a quarterback in a hand, it's a problem, right? And just to see Buffalo kind of skate around the injury report and just not be honest about it, that bothers me a little bit. I'm sure there's a lot of gamesmanship in the injury reports, right? But that glove that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I didn't see, because I was at the game. Did he have his fingers taped again? Because he had his fingers taped in the Dolphins game.
Middle and ring. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I heard he had a consultation from his doctor, Dr. Ronnie Lott, and he told him just to break it off.
Yeah. Booger McFarland's over there. Yeah, go see Booger. I'm sure Booger will sign off on it.
Oh my God!
Don't ask Booger for directions.
You'll get confused.
You can't tell which way he's pointing.
Oh my God!
Now, Ryan, did you leave the game early because by the third quarter it was a preseason game?
Yeah, I took off after the 3-and-out, I believe it was, with a punt when the Bills punted. The first punt of the game for the Bills is when I was like, all right, I'm going to take off. They're up 27. Like, probably this is where Trubisky comes in. Probably this is about the time where you're going to see who's the backup for Jacksonville.
Mac Jones.
Poor kid. Mac Jones.
Yeah, Mac Jones. The poor kid. Nah, to hell with Mac Jones. He's a grown-ass man. We all make our choices.
He signed up for it. He knows what he was getting into.
Yeah, he's not an idiot. He went to a place with no state income tax, guys. Mac, don't feel bad for Mac Jones. Right?
Living the dream.
State income tax.
Yeah, not going to feel bad for him at all. But
and he's playing at a place where he's probably going to get a chance to start a few games here. I would assume at some point down the stretch, as bad as Trevor Lawrence is playing.
Yeah,
holy Christ!
Bad. I know.
Ryan, you had a front row seat. Obviously, not literally in the front row. We had a front row seat for a lot of the things that the Buffalo Bills were doing offensively and defensively. And you had mentioned to me they have these cards. Now, could you just elaborate more on what you saw on the sideline for the Buffalo Bills with the cards that they're doing?
Yeah, they didn't use them a lot today because Jacksonville didn't seem to be running too many 2 tight end sets, but they're using these neon cards, and yellow is either 11 or 12, so they're indicating what type of personnel the team is coming out in. And then if it's 12 personnel, they're holding up an orange card with the number of the tight end. And my assumption is that's the tight end that Dorian Williams is supposed to use to determine the strong side. So I think it's a little bit of a helper for him to get lined up.
That seems pretty remedial.
I noticed it. I noticed it in Arizona, in the Arizona game they were doing.
Oh, okay.
And I was curious to see if they would bring the cards back. Maybe it was like first game of the season type of thing. But the cards were out today. They were using them. They just weren't like really using them because Jacksonville, I don't think even once did a 2 tight end set. Maybe once on one of the 4th down plays, they ran a 2 tight end set, but that was it. And they both lined up on the same side. So you didn't really need to worry about what the strong side was. So I don't know who it's for necessarily. That was my assumption, was Dorian Williams to figure out the strong side if they were running a 12 personnel, which makes sense, right? I mean, I guess if they want him to key in on a certain, tight end as the strong, and they don't want to call it in to the green dot so that he has to direct traffic, it's just like 2 bright neon signs.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, right? But I guess part of me, right, says if I'm Jacksonville, I'm looking at the Buffalo linebacking group and saying, we're going to attack them, right? Sure. Like that's who we're going to attack. And Christian Kirk walks away with 10 targets. Brian Thomas walks away with 9. Gabe Davis walks away with 3. You have 2, I'm not going to say great tight ends, right? Because Evan Ingram not being in there, he's normally a target hog. So he impacts the game incredibly for you here. Like that really hurt Jacksonville not to have him. But even with him, this game still isn't close like that. Buffalo was just going to score at will on Jacksonville, right? It wasn't a game of field position. Buffalo was just going to score at will on Jacksonville. But your 2 tight ends, Luke Farrell and Brendan Strange, walk away with 7 targets for 3 catches and 19 yards. Like, you could have attacked the middle of the field a little bit more against the Bills linebacker group is what I'm imagining Jacksonville thought and what I would imagine Baltimore feels like they're going to be able to do as well. Does this game change the way Baltimore is going to have to approach Buffalo?
On the offensive side of the ball, I don't think so. I mean, we haven't seen Baltimore change up the way that they attack an offense and going on 2 decades now. And the entire time that Jim Harbaugh's been the coach, they've attacked teams the same way offensively, right? Like they're going to run the football, they're going to throw to the tight end, and they're going to hope that Lamar Jackson runs for 70 yards and at least 1 score. Like that's how they're going to win the football game.
Yeah, it definitely presents something if you want to talk about the teams that have had success against Jacksonville and what they have done. You know, I think Ferguson had not a bad day against them. And, you know, you want to talk about Kelsey's performance against the Ravens and how I'm flipping it over to the offense and how they're going to try to handle Kincaid, how they're going to try to handle Knox. And with 10 different guys catching passes, Ryan, it's got to be something where it's not like you have Stephon Diggs and you got to tilt coverage over there. So we know they're going to tilt coverage. So then we can go to all these other guys. You can't tilt coverage against the Buffalo Bills with how Allen's been able to spread the ball around, how Brady's been able to call the offense. And, you know, we've called a lot of games ourselves. Let's say you're a defensive coordinator and you have to try to attack this Buffalo Bills team. What is, stop it, Joe. No, Joe. What like if you're a defensive coordinator, Ryan, you got to go up against the Buffalo Bills. What is the one thing that you are you going to try to play more man? Are you going to try to blitz more? What are you going to try to do as a DC trying to go against the Buffalo Bills, especially if you're the Baltimore Ravens?
I don't see how any defensive coordinator can watch the first 3 games and say we're going to stop this team by running man to man. Like Josh is absolutely feasting on man-to-man coverage. That was the entirety of the first half for Jacksonville, and he had damn near a perfect half passing the football. There's just so many weapons, and I think I heard a call on WGR on the drive home. Nate Geary was hosting, and his first call that he took, the caller I thought made a pretty good point. He's like, did the departure of Diggs help this offense in that Josh and Brady can go to 10 guys without worrying about what's waiting for them in the locker room when the game's over, right? Like, yeah, you're right, Mario. When you have a guy in Diggs and you know the coverage is going to get rolled to him, ideally that opens up everybody else. But what was the locker room like if Diggs didn't have double-digit targets by the end of the game, right? Like,
absolutely.
What does that do when you've got a guy that's sucking the air out of the room when everyone else is like, yeah, everyone's going to eat. And he's like, well, as long as I eat first, everybody else can eat. But now you're looking at a team where there's legitimately, you know, Josh brought it up in the post game where he said, you know, guys may only get 1 or 2 balls thrown their way, but they know when their time comes, they're going to have a chance to do something with the football. And I think that's how do you get ready for a team where you don't know who to take away?
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's so hard to do because you saw them go dual purpose in the first game. You saw them win the game running the football in the second game. You saw them win the game throwing the ball in the third game. And oh, by the way, they still haven't used that lunatic on the sidelines to his full potential to go out and just win a football game with his body and mind. Like, and you know he can do it. Like, how do you even prepare for a team like that?
Yeah, you can. And you know what, though? It's weird, too, because as much as I don't like the guy, he did bring up a good point. Tom Brady had an interview recently. I know you guys probably saw it. He was talking about you have to try to get your star players involved very, very early in the game. He goes, you can't have him go a quarter and a half, 2 quarters where he doesn't even have a ball thrown his way. So you got to try to get him involved. He's running all these routes all day. It seems like the Buffalo Bills have the opposite of that. They don't. To echo your point, Ryan, they don't have one superstar wide receiver that they know they have to get the ball to. They have Shakir can run those underneath routes. Coleman can take you deep. You know, you got Valdez-Scantling that can also go deep. You got Mac Hollins, who's a load to deal with. You know what I mean? You got Cook out of the backfield. You got Kincaid and Knox. It's like it seems that Joe Brady, even in his young career, when they try to take something away from Josh Allen, 2 other guys open up all the time. Like the first game, everyone was coming into the season. The first game, Dawson Knox is going to be, or Dalton Kincaid is going to be the focus of the offense. They're going to do this, that, and the third with him. He was a decoy for other guys to eat. And I think everyone in the locker room was like, hey, if we do this and we all commit to this, we can win, and we all could hoist up a trophy and then make our stock go up better, even more.
Right.
So I
absolutely.
think you put it beautifully, right? As far as that, like, who do you key on this offense other than 17? Who are you going to key on?
So we got to make a call back real quick, right? So Garn, thank you for doing. I love Hashtag Nation. Thank you so much, guys. By the way, like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. But Garn did a little work for us. People who have had more passes in a game than Kyle Allen in the last 4 seasons: Case Keenum, Matt Barkley, Cole Beasley, Jaquan Johnson, and Isaiah McKenzie. I was expecting to see because we normally see a fake along the way, and the closest thing we got was a Damar Hamlin fake punt, fake punt rush attempt. That was the closest we got to a pass attempt last season.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, and Joe's right on this, yak yards. We've talked about this for the last couple seasons, right? Well, last 5 seasons with Josh, right? Josh has a tendency to wait till that window's open and just about closed before he lets go of the ball. This year, we're actually seeing guys get yards after the catch. And to me, that is the biggest dynamic change in this offense, is that, you're seeing receivers run with the ball in their hands. And that's not something that we've been accustomed to here in Buffalo, because it's like, it's been there sometimes. Right. It's been there sometimes, but the first 3 weeks here, no, this is the way this offense is going. These guys are finding space. And again, I don't know what it is about this group of wide receivers, because none of them are superstars yet. Right. I don't think you can say that Mac Hollins is, on the path to being a superstar in the NFL. Right. But again, Mac Hollins has a role in this team where he's just as likely to run block as he is to catch a pass for you. And I think that those packages that the Bills had run before kind of would cornhole them into certain situations where you looked at the personnel group and like, okay, well, Robert Foster's on the field. I know what he's doing. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who is the kick return? Andre Roberts. Oh, Andre Roberts is on the field. I wonder what they're going to do. Oh, Isaiah McKenzie's on the field. Well, they throw the ball to him 65% of the time he's on the field. So I wonder what they're going to do there. But now it just seems like the concepts have cleaned up. I'm not going to say the talent's improved. I say the concepts have been cleaned up a lot from what we've seen over the past at least 3 seasons. And that's super encouraging to me, because you look at the dumpster fire that's going on with the Giants and Dable, and you're like, kind of glad. Like, I'm kind of glad that happened, right? I'm kind of glad all that happened.
Well, you got to give some credence to Dable for the development that he had of Allen. I think it goes understated that he developed them. I think a lot of the things that Brady's doing, and you guys will see this if you have all 22. I don't know. We don't have all 22. So if you guys have all 22, you'll see it. If they're running zone concepts, if the team's running zone concepts, you're going to see them. You're going to see Brady flood zones. You're going to see him flood it, and they just give Allen a very easy read. He's reading one guy, and that's it. And he's taking off. You know what I mean? And if it's man, he believes that his personnel has the ability to beat their man one-on-one, especially with Allen throwing him the ball. So, you're not seeing any really bad decisions from Allen, because he knows he has at least 3 options on every play. And the 4th option is, I'm going to run it. I'll just gain 7 and slide. Thanks. I'll take this. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And he is we haven't seen Chaos Josh except for week 1, but I always forget. What do you call him all the time, Ryan?
He's a centaur. I mean, that's worth talking about too, Mario. I don't. You and I were talking on Saturday before the Brockport game about this concept of what you've seen the Chiefs do over the last 5-6 years with Mahomes, where they don't have to play great offense, right? Like, defensively, they always seem to come up with a big play in a big spot, because a lot of offenses are forcing against them, right? And why are they forcing against them? Well, because they've got the nuclear option on the other sideline, and it's like break glass in case of emergency. At the end of the day, we've still got 15 that we can trot out there, at the end of a game and go win a football game, right? And is Buffalo trying to take a page out of that book, where it's like, listen, we're beating you without 17 really doing superhero type stuff, but we can still do it, right? Like, we'll do a couple plays a game to remind you like that. 3rd and 8 on the opening drive where they emptied out the linebackers, and he was just like, okay, well, I'll just take a draw for 14 yards right up the middle, and then slide. And it's like, by the way, he can still do that if we need him to. We just don't need him to. And it's almost forcing teams to press offensively. They make mistakes. They, go for it on 4th down when they shouldn't. And it's all because it's like that guy is standing on the other sideline, and we need to keep up with him, even though he's not the one beating us yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think I think this could be the year where people can really shift the conversation of, who is the best quarterback in the NFL. Because of course, Mahomes has been on the mountain for a few years, as well as he should be, right? His career accomplishments, they speak for themselves. There's certainly no argument. But like you see that the first 3 games, Kelsey hasn't really been a very big part of that offense. That team is good, but probably not where they could be. But it just seems like Josh is just in full control of everything around him. Right. Like it's finally come to a point where he is in total control. Now, mind you, I do want to point out a couple of really fascinating stats. The Bills tonight were 8.6 yards per pass. Now, Josh only attempted 30 passes.
Yeah.
They're 23 for 30, 8.6 yards per pass. The Jaguars were 2.9 yards per pass. The Cardinals were 4.2 yards per pass. In that game, the Bills were 8.9. And against the Dolphins, which was the lowest for the Bills, 7.3 yards per pass to the Dolphins, 5.2 yards per pass. I would love to see that stat across the NFL. I got to go and do the research on it. But the Bills, they're taking yardage through the air, and Josh isn't having to throw the ball 50 times to do it. And that makes you a very dangerous team, right? When you're a first down per pass team, that makes you an incredibly dangerous team. The downside is that you also need to learn to control the clock a little bit. And I think that's sort of been the thing that Buffalo never really did well, was they could score from 80 on a play, and then the defense would be out there for 7.5 minutes. And then they'd score from 80, and then the defense would be back out there for 7.5 minutes, just getting dragged. I think Buffalo's finally learning that balancing act. If we could take the last half of last year and the first half of this year, I think that tells a story of a very complete team. That's, God, I hate this term. Say it with me now. Playing complementary football.
Why do you hate that so much? I don't understand.
So stupid. It's so overused.
Why?
It's so overused.
Well, the people that say it usually don't use it right. That's the problem.
There we go. I know. That's why I don't like to say it.
Both Josh and Sean used it. Both Josh and McDermott used it in their post-game press conference.
Of course they did.
I'm tired of hearing this guy's a gamer. I'm done with that. Okay, I'm done with that phrase.
But Paul, one thing off of that, right? Like they did a good job tonight when they needed to control the clock, right? Like to open the game, they had their opening drive was 5 minutes and 26 seconds, right? Like that set the tone for the game itself. And then they scored their second touchdown drive, 5 minutes and 12 seconds. But the one that I look at was coming out of halftime. Jaguars go down 3 minutes and 45 seconds. They score, right? And like quick scores are how we get back in this game, right? Like we had to score quick coming out of halftime. We can get a stop. We can get the ball back and we can make this a 2-possession game really quick. Buffalo goes 11 plays, 61 yards, 6 minutes and 12 seconds. They kick a field goal to make it a 4-score game. And it's like, okay, this game's over, right? Like now there's 5 minutes left in the third quarter and you don't have enough time. Even if we give you the ball back immediately after you score, you don't have enough time anymore. So they've been timely about their running off the clock. And I think that's the difference this year than what we've seen in the past, where it's like they score too quick. They don't know how to manage their clock. They don't know how to manage their timeouts. Like those things all seem to be getting better. And that's something that I know the three of us have been screaming for the last few seasons, is like to get better at that stuff.
Yeah, the weird part about it is that the things that have happened in the 3 games, albeit the comeback that they had against Arizona, kind of leave that one out. The last 2 games aren't really how football goes normally against really, really good teams. So the timeouts that he's been taking, And you took the one in the third quarter. Yeah, don't care. You're up. What are you up? You know what I mean?
Game's already over, right?
Yeah, it really hasn't impacted the game at all.
Mhm.
But you start to look at a team like the Saints, 2 blowouts in the first 2 games, and then they have trouble managing the clock against the Eagles. And it's
Yeah.
like, what do we do? You know what I mean? It was just a really tough one in that. So I don't think the first 2 games or the first 3 games did anything to remedy the fact that they know when to call timeouts now. I just think they haven't been put in a position to call timeouts and as far as the clock management goes. But yeah, it's one thing is they're not getting dragged up and down the field as far as their defense goes. Defense is getting off the field and surprisingly enough, because I don't think a lot of people expected much out of this defense. I mean, you looked at some of the starters that are on this defense. I mean, Bernard's out, Johnson's out, and you got 2 new safeties, and Milano goes out. You're like, they're doing it with those guys? Like, what? How? Is it the system that works so well? Is it the fact that they've acquired these guys? Spector was drafted, Williams was drafted, Hamlin was drafted. They acquired Rapp. Like, they acquired Douglas. They drafted Benford. You know what I mean? All these guys aren't just like free agent pickups that they're paying a ton of money to. These are guys that they brought in and bred. So it's like, look what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great point. That's an absolutely great point. And I think, another thing that probably shouldn't be overshadowed, we're going to exclude the second half of this game. And I'm going through the play-by-play for each game.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. So going through the play-by-play, the Bills did not have a 3-and-out until the second half of this game. And again, I'm not even going to count that, right? Because their first 3-and-out was the score was 37-10 before they went 3-and-out and punted. They went 3 plays for 7 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, they had 1 3-and-out against Arizona and 1 3-and-out against Miami. That's absurd. That is
pretty absurd.
That's absurd. Yeah, the NFL teams don't do that. Like, even elite level offenses, they go 3-and-out. Like, it just happens sometimes. You get a bad penalty, whatever the case may be. And Buffalo still didn't play a clean game. Buffalo still had 6 penalties for 47 yards. So I guess if there's one thing you can say that Buffalo still needs to clean up, a little heavy-handed tonight with the penalties. But again, you could look at, you were playing a bunch of reserves in the back half of the game, right? So you might have picked up a penalty or 2 there. But the fact of the matter is, you've had 2 3-and-outs going into this game the whole season. And then you didn't have one until you put in your reserve players, and then they had one where you didn't let your quarterback throw all but 1 pass. So, I mean, come on. That's incredible efficiency.
Well, I mean, and it speaks to Josh has been sacked twice all season, and those both came in the first game, right? Like, he's not seeing the pressure. And speaking of a homegrown guy, did you guys go over the Spencer Brown stat yet?
No.
He hasn't allowed a sack. And
so not only has he not allowed a sack, Spencer Brown has had 35 pass blocking snaps, or he had 35 pass blocking snaps this game. He has not allowed a pressure. He's the only offensive lineman in the entire league that has not allowed a pressure this season.
Listen, man got a contract. Right.
I mean, how's that look for Bean to sign him before this season, right? Because he's not obviously not going to give up. He's not going to go the entire season without giving up a pressure. But at this pace, right? Like, if he gives up a handful of pressures, like, what does that contract look like? When he's like,
that's right.
Hey, remember that season where I was supposed to prove to you guys I put it all together? Well, like, I did. So now pay me like a top tier right tackle, and instead they lock him in at a top 10 right tackle, which you're okay with, right?
Yeah. But I mean, you're doing the same thing with Greg Rousseau, right? Because you're letting Rousseau play in a contract year. And I always fear the defensive end in the contract year, right? Like, that is a legitimate thing. Like, defensive ends in a contract year don't play. Like, they don't mess around. They're out there to get their money. But you have to imagine that the Spencer Brown no pressures stat goes along perfectly with what Joe has said here. 3 games in a row without an interception for Josh. And honestly, it hasn't even really been close. Right.
It's his first season in the NFL where he started the first 3 games without a pick.
Right. And again, sometimes that's fortune, right? Ball gets tipped, whatever the case may be.
He had two today that I thought Jacksonville should have had.
Yeah, it's probably the closest it's been though, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't the one that got knocked down in the first quarter, was it?
No. There was one in the third. It was around midfield that
Okay.
it looked like he was trying to stretch, and then there was one in the end zone where they wound up settling in
near
the
the end.
of that third quarter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I remember that one. I remember someone was talking about it, I think on the broadcast, about the one that got knocked down or whatever. And it was like, oh, you think the defender should have had that one? This should have been a pick. I'm like, the defender was 6 yards away from him, and Allen threw a rocket. He's not picking that off. I'm sorry. That's a jugs machine.
Yeah, Josh throws balls into submission, right? Like he's going to submit you into catching that interception. Like you're going to feel it, right? It's a receipt. He sends a receipt with it.
He sends a receipt.
He does. Sends a receipt with it. Ryan, did you did your Bills parlay hit, by the way?
I gotta look. We'll tell you guys on Wednesday when Joe's did. I know Joe's.
Yeah, Joe
did
hit.
Dawson Knox Bills win combo, so his hit.
No, Dalton Kincaid. It was a Dalton Kincaid, not Dawson.
Yeah, Dalton Kincaid. Yeah,
Dalton Kincaid anytime, and then
also
Bills win.
Also worth mentioning, did anybody else notice that Keon Coleman didn't play the entire first quarter? Did anyone did it jump out? So McDermott said he actually got benched for the first quarter. He showed up late at some point this week. He didn't say whether it was practice or a game. Okay. But Sean said, I had to sit Keon to start the game. He was late. He owes it to his teammates to be on time, yada yada. So maybe worth keeping an eye on as you move forward with Keon Coleman. By all accounts, seems like a great teammate, seems like a great guy, but once is a mistake, twice is a trend. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, 1 target, 1 reception, 1 touchdown, first career, right?
That's efficiency.
Yeah. A lot of firsts tonight. We talked about it earlier in the broadcast. A lot of firsts tonight. But the reason I brought up Ryan, your parlay, and Joe's parlay is because it's time that we mention our other sponsor. Mr. Rogers Homes has always been a sponsor here at Hashtag Sports. We very much appreciate that. Mr. Rogers Homes for all your Arizona home needs. But BetDSI is on with us as well. And that's what we want you to do is go ahead, tune in on Wednesdays, follow the TikToks, follow the shorts where we give you all that betting advice, and then take your passion to the next level with betdsi.eu. You need to check them out. They've been around for over 25 years, and they know how to treat real fans like us, the best odds, the fastest payouts, and a platform that is as solid as our defense, which is only averaging 16 points a game right now. Whether you're betting on the Bills to dominate the AFC, which they are and which they will continue to do, or making those crucial live bets during the game, BetDSI is everything you need to make your picks count. So thank you again to BetDSI. If you sign up with promo code HTAG, you'll get 120% match up to $1,000 on your first deposit. So use that promo code HTAG.
My parlay did hit.
BetDSI.eu. It hit? Yeah, buddy.
It did hit. It was a James Cook anytime touchdown and a longest scoring play of the game under 39 and a half yards. So both.
Wow. Yeah, look at that. That's bold.
That is that's plus what was that? Plus 249. So not too bad.
Getting that in a game that had 57 points scored is pretty good, actually.
And the Bills were like, let's just get...
And actually I took the over in that game, and the Bills hit the over on their own. So,
yeah, I was going to say the Bills decided just to hit the over all by themselves.
The over was 45.5, and Buffalo hit it on their own. So
yeah,
I'm going to throw Joe under the bus a little bit. Joe did take the Jaguars to cover at +5. So
no way.
We're going to go over the rest of the week tomorrow on Wednesday, but I do have to throw a little salt in Joe's wound because his parlay hit, but he did pick the Jags to cover the spread, and he picked the under in that game.
Of course, Ryan's on fire.
Yeah, Ryan is on fire with his parlays.
So make sure you tune into those guys.
So what do we have to do if we're looking at down the road, right? We've just officially stomped Jacksonville into dust. You're looking at Baltimore next week in Baltimore, one of 3 consecutive road games for the Bills. You are again on prime time. 8:20 is that game. Start time on September 29th at Baltimore. Then you follow that up on October 6th at Houston. And then another primetime game, 10:14 Monday night against the Jets. So a lot of additional rest time, right? I guess you could think of it that way. You get an extra day here and there. But you're looking at Baltimore. What about Baltimore are you trying to prepare for here? Because, on the season, Lamar's thrown for, double the passing yards that Josh Allen has. Just think about that for a minute, right? Double the passing yards. Derrick Henry. Travis Henry. Jesus, what year is it?
What year is it?
Derrick Henry has has 100 more rushing yards than James Cook. Their leading receiver has, twice the receptions as the Bills' leading receiver. So, there's a lot here on paper that says if you're just looking at highlights, Baltimore should be the favorite here. Clearly, that's not going to be the case. The over right now, as I can see it, is 46 is the listed over on ESPN. I feel like that's going to move, right? After what Buffalo did tonight, I feel like that one's going to move. But if you're preparing for Baltimore now, which the Bills are, what as a fan do you need to prepare yourself for? Because the records are going to be what the records are. Baltimore's 1-2, but they are a dangerous team. They're a dangerous team. They still continue to be one of the top teams in the AFC. So, what are you preparing yourself for here?
Ryan, you want to go first on this?
Yeah, I'm preparing myself for a heavy dose of Derrick Henry, right? Derrick Henry in the 2 games that they lost, Derrick Henry had 13 and 18 carries. In the game that they won, he had 25 carries for 151 yards. They have to get Derrick Henry going if they're going to be successful on offense. They just don't have the horses on offense, right? They don't have Zay Flowers is fine. Mark Andrews is, he's a good to very good tight end, but he just can't. He's struggling to get things going. Nobody else passing wise scares you, right? Isaiah Likely's going to have a couple games a season, but it's Lamar and it's Derrick Henry. And if they can get Henry going, that's going to spell trouble for Buffalo because he's tough to slow down. And Lamar has thrown the ball so much because they've been trailing for quite a bit, right? Last game, he didn't have a huge game passing the ball, but it is worth noting, Paul, that what you're looking at when he's double Josh's. I don't think they've added Josh's passing.
No, they haven't added tonight. Yeah, no, they haven't added tonight.
Yeah, but they do. Tonight. I mean, they throw the ball to Flowers because Flowers is their best offensive weapon, not in the backfield, and that's the guy that you're probably going to have to key in on. That's probably who Douglas draws, if I had to guess. And you kind of let everybody else do their thing on the back end, and you get stout running the ball, against the run. Try and slow down Henry as best you can, and it's a tough task, right? He's one of the best to ever do it. So it's a tall order to try to slow him down, and then also worry about Lamar running the ball.
Real quick trivia question for you guys. The Bills, so far, now counting tonight, the Bills have scored over 100 points this season. They're at 112 points. So far, there's only one other team to have scored over 100 points. Who is it?
New Orleans.
Saints.
Brian?
No, it's got to be Arizona, right?
It is New Orleans. New Orleans in at 103. The next closest is in the 80s, so there's no one close. It's the Bills at 112, New Orleans at 103, and then there's not another team in it until I think Minnesota at 85.
That's wild.
Yeah,
the Derek Carr led Saints and the Sam Darnold led Vikings.
I know,
what a world
right?
we live in, guys.
I know. Two teams that I would have thought would be vying for top 5 draft
what
picks.
In the 2019 is going on?
But the Bills are in the lead in the NFL in point differential at plus. Oh, okay. I'm not even going to say it, guys. 82? What do you think the differential is? They're in the lead comfortably in point differential in the NFL. What is it? Scored 112. You can do the math real quick.
It's got to be in the 60s.
Yeah, it is.
69.
The golden number. I love the guess, right? You're close, obviously, 'cause it's in the 60s. Mar? Just give me a number.
I have it in front of me, so you can just tell everybody. I just looked it up.
It's 64. But that's a crazy amount. You're plus 64. This isn't college football. This is the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Hashtag Nation and Bills Mafia, you guys are going to hear a lot of talking heads on the big media waves talking about they're going to jump on the bandwagon again. You know, we've all been here just riding it out. So you're going to hear, oh, are the Bills the best team in the NFL? Or do they have this? Do they have that? Can they do this? And blah, 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 and all this other stuff. So Josh Allen, the unicorn that he is, can turn into Chaos Josh at any moment. As far as the Baltimore matchup, we're going to have some previews for you guys coming up this week. But as far as it goes, I mean, Ryan's right. You have a two-headed monster in that backfield, and if you can take care of that and force Lamar Jackson to throw the ball, which is something that is typically not his strength. I mean, you guys can get mad at me for that. It just isn't. He makes more noise when he's out of the pocket, and he's able to make some people hurt some teams with his feet. Ryan, you said a quote last year. Do you remember the quote that you said last year when we were comparing Josh Allen to Lamar Jackson? You said something about them, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, one running, one on his outside the pocket or on his feet. Or I can't remember how you phrased it. It was phenomenal. I just can't remember how you said it. I
don't know. We'll have to go back and look. We'll have to go back and see what we can
You said like Lamar Jackson is the most dangerous with his feet, and Josh Allen is the most dangerous on the move, or something like that. I think it was something to that effect. But
it was probably something to the most dangerous quarterback. You know, when he runs, and Josh is most dangerous when he's trying to stay on the move and keep his eyes downfield. We'll look it up. We'll find this. We'll find the quote.
We'll find it. Yeah, it's got to be a short somewhere.
Call in if you know.
That's it for us, guys. For Ryan, for Paul, this is hashtag sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the Jacksonville Jaguars post game. Make sure to follow all of our socials: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Our two sponsors, Mr. Rogers Homes and BetDSI. I'd like to thank you guys for spending this late night with us, but we're gonna get out of here and go to bed. I'm tired, so enjoy
We're
what's
getting
that?
asked for a roast, Mark.
The roast. Oh, we can get roasted. We haven't done a roast in a while.
Yeah, no.
Paul and I did one last week, and Mario got
week.
roasted more than either of us.
Yeah, it was great.
I always get roasted.
It worked out great for me. I don't know what the problem is.
It's fine.
Yeah, it worked out great for me. Yeah, we could do a roast. Yeah,
go ahead. Let's light this candle, huh?
Yeah, 2 minutes on the clock. Is that what it is? 2 minutes?
I'll put the 2 minutes on the clock. Yeah, we'll go 2 minute roast. Paul, if you would do the honors of reading them out, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
And put the timer on 2 minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Fire away, guys.
Yeah, have fun.
I got you last week. No worries.
We're open as 2.5-point favorites. How does that happen?
Only 2.5?
You have a 3-0 team going against a 1-2 team.
Well, they're at home. If Buffalo were at home, they'd be a 6-point favorite. You know that. Come on, they'd be a 6-point favorite at home.
He's gonna dye his hair. What is that? You see the comment?
No, it hasn't shown up for me yet.
TV and sleep. Trevor Lawrence is gonna look like Mario after 5 beers after today's performance. Nobody could look that rough. I don't care how bad they get beat up.
This just in, Buffalo scored again. That's
phenomenal.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny to me when teams are like, "Oh, I got a great idea. Let's draft a quarterback and a running back from the same national championship team." And they're like, "That's not going to work, guys. Don't you know how this is not going to work?" Mario missed last week to shoot his hair club for men commercial. Yeah, it's their new forehead relocation program. They're donating it to foreheadless children in third world countries.
Foreheadless children.
You know how much ad space you got there? We should really look into that.
Yeah, you guys really should reach out to some potential sponsors and see if you can get like a billboard on his forehead.
Okay.
I'm just saying, when I wear a backwards hat, the fitted hat thing, you got to get a fitted hat.
Listen to me, Jack Skellington.
It looks like a minion trying to come out of your head.
Peyton Manning's my brother. That's all I'm going to say.
Peyton Manning or Peyton?
Peyton. Rihanna's the celeb sponsor for that charity. All right, that's 2 minutes. You guys had your fun. We are self-roasting now. Yeah, that's you guys. You guys gotta have us roast each other. You know, I got Jack Skellington over here and Ryan, who's back, looks like North Dakota. Fucking freaking guy over here. All right, guys, we're out of here. The roast is done. The Bills win. Enjoy Bills Victory Tuesday. And we'll catch you guys on Wednesday with Ryan and Joe. So we're out of here.
Go Bills.